one moment, and then Lou Man could have came in with a telegram. Ah, yes.
And then Lou Man goes, by the way, I'm Petey, Agent Pete. Okay, thank you. And then he lubes away. Yeah, no. Okay, so, yes, point taken. Hey, Internet. It's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We're here talking about the season finale of Watchmen, entitled See How They Fly.
Perhaps the series finale.
Perhaps the series finale, exactly. I think HBO is calling it the season finale, but at the moment, I think Lindelof has been pretty clear to say like he doesn't have plans for season 2. So this could very well be the end of the series. If so, I think a fitting end. I think it found a way to tie everything up.
Yes.
And did its job. So kudos to you, Lindelof.
Yes, and crew.
And crew, and actors, and such.
Yes.
This episode begins with Ozymandias giving the speech that we had seen earlier to Robert Redford. In the future, you will see this, and I'm telling you what I did. And we end with the cliffhanger. We can talk about that, but the Angela about to step onto the pool. Will she walk on water or not?
Yes.
Fade to black. Okay, we won't go every single beat because there's a lot that happens in here actually. But the 85 thing is interesting. I think it's 85. Whenever the squid attack happened, because he's giving this speech in front of the tank.
Yes.
With the giant squid in it, which I thought was awesome. It's like ooh, very very super villainy kind of thing. But we see that his crew are all seem to be Vietnamese refugees or something. I believe in the comic he then had all of them killed in order to hide the secret.
Wow.
So those folks are on a clock.
It would have to be a 9-month clock.
Well, my guess is that you're talking about because Lady True's mom would have been killed.
Impregnated herself, yes.
Yeah. Well, my guess is that she wasn't really I think she was an infiltrator. In other words, I think she was pretending to be a cleaning person and then was like,
I see.
She had an ulterior motive.
I see. Okay.
So yes, she finds the painting of Alexander the Great, and then behind it, he's collected, his DNA.
Yeah.
Little bottles, little test tubes.
Yeah.
I did take a little interest in the number. Okay. It's 2346. There are 23 chromosome pairs, totaling 46 chromosomes. In a DNA strand. So I don't know. I think that's maybe why they selected that number, perhaps.
Maybe so.
Anyway, mission accomplished. She combines her own brilliance with Ozymandias' brilliance, and Lady True is born.
Yes.
We then see somewhere in there, Lady True shows up at Karnak up in the north. She's got the goggles on, and she's like, "Hey, by the way, I'd like to borrow $42 billion because I'm your daughter,
right?
And I want to. I have a way to get Dr. Manhattan's powers,
right,
and make the world a better place."
Yeah.
And he is. He's not pleased.
No, he's not.
He's very upset that her mom is a thief, as he calls it. He's like, she stole me from behind the painting. He says, oh yeah, my parents were really wealthy, but I deliberately didn't take any of their money because I wanted to build it from scratch, show them I could do it, and I'm not giving you anything.
Right.
And I'll never call you daughter.
Ever.
Which was... I'm thinking back a few weeks back when we were looking at when he was making the message on the moon of Europa, and we see "Save me, D," and we theorized at the time, and we weren't the only people doing it.
No, we weren't.
"Save me, daughter."
Yeah.
But my point at the time was like, that sounds so awkward to say. Why would you spell out the entire word "daughter" when it just out of bodies? And so I was against that idea, but as we see. The reason it's important is that he said he'd never do it.
Yes,
so "Save me, daughter" is that he correctly surmises that if he can appeal to her vanity, look, I said I'd never call you daughter, and I never ask you for anything. Save me, daughter.
Yes.
The narcissist in her will take over and save me.
Yeah.
And so it does.
So even she might be like, huh, he didn't phrase that very well. So I just leave him up there.
Is there another daughter he had, perhaps? I mean, we don't know.
That's true. Yeah, somebody else who, created a satellite that watched, the moon on Jupiter. Maybe another one of his daughters.
Because Lady True indicates that she sent out a little ping. She was trying to find a particular
energy signature
for Dr. Manhattan. It was not on Mars.
Nope.
It was on this moon of Europa, so she was sending a satellite to it.
Yep.
That's a satellite, obviously, that Ozymandias realizes is there, and so uses it to his advantage.
Yep.
And we also find out that, kind of like we did guess that it was odd that the Phillips and Crookshanks clones were being so mean to him all of a sudden when he had been able to control them so well before. And we kind of get the idea that, he was just trying to keep himself sane. And there's an ouch moment there when the game warden, our Adam from that world, tries to shoot him. He catches the bullet, a reference back to the comic and the movie. And then, he kills Adam. He kills the game warden with the horseshoe.
Yes.
And as he's dying, it's like, oh, I just wanted to make, why'd you make me wear the mask? Very important there. Where he's like, well, masks make people cruel. And I just wanted to have a worthy adversary.
Yes.
And so he's like, so I was a worthy adversary? No, you weren't. But you put on a hell of a show.
Yes.
And just yes. All that time, all that stuff was just to keep him occupied. Now, it is interesting that I think he said I needed a worthy adversary to keep me sane.
Yes.
And then the fact that this guy wasn't a worthy adversary, does that mean he went partially insane or no? I mean, he acts kind of crazy at times while he's on that planet.
I don't know. I feel like
he's still got his. He's still who he is.
I feel like that question doesn't matter, but I mean.
I'm talking about like how with it is.
I mean, the statement like that is like, this doesn't happen, I'm going to go crazy. I mean.
Well, that I'm thinking back
so you weren't worthy, so obviously I must have went crazy.
I'm thinking back to the end of the last episode when he gets the horseshoe in the cake and he goes like the look of joy on his face and how he's like, I get it because he can escape, but it's a frenetic kind of, I don't know, like he may not be all there, but okay. No, he's all there. Got it.
Or as all there as he ever was.
As he ever was. Lady True sends a ship. Ship arrives. He gets on it.
He is.
Yes, I love this moment. This is one of my favorite bits. Is that she realizes she's going to have a statue of him, and so she's going to kind of freeze him in carbonite, freeze him in gold paint, but she doesn't want him just to stand there, and that statue would be unimpressive. So she wants a statue of him doing the pose. So she forces him into a mold where he has to do this. And then freezes him. I thought it was really, really fun.
Well, she suggests that he put his hands at his sides, which he does.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
she says forces him to.
Well,
she tells him to.
Right.
It's not like, I'm not going to do it. Like, here, do this, then do this. It's just
she'd have said, because what I want is to make a statue out of you. I'm going to put it in my garden. Right. He'd have been like, screw you.
I don't know. Instead, I don't know if that's what he would have said. Because he wants to get off. So whatever, it's like, here, do this. I don't know how much he forced him, is all I'm saying.
Well, she does say later, like, oh, I was really impressed with how you humbled yourself, with like, save me, daughter and stuff.
Right.
I think that extra layer of humbling might have been maybe a step too far for Ozymandias, but okay. Maybe not. I'm going to keep you as a little statue in my garden.
I mean, here's the thing. Oof. He didn't even know.
He did not know.
No. Once he wakes up, he's like, he's having frozen.
I'm back. Oh, he makes something to drink. Right, but I'm just saying, if he had known, I don't think he would have really gone along with that plan.
Maybe.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe you
tell me. He's certainly not in a position to say no.
Correct. Like, I'll wait for the next spaceship.
Yeah.
And she obviously has a love-hate relationship with him. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
And so she turns him into this statue, puts him into her little botanical garden until the day that she's going to do this great achievement and turn into a god in her mind. And so then she'll unfreeze him in order to have him witness the event.
Yes.
Like, see?
Yes.
And so she brings him back and is like, see? I did all this stuff without you. You said you gave me a challenge, and I achieved it.
Yeah, but just before she did that, she asked her mother-daughter to come and reveal to her what she already knew.
Right. Oh, you might hear something from... Oh, that I'm your mom? Yeah, I know. Well, she's got a bunch of memories, for one thing.
Yes.
So it's probably...
Yes.
She's got her mother and her dad there to witness this moment. The moment in question, we were trying to figure out, okay, so obviously the 7th Cavalry and Lady True both have monumental things that are about to happen on apparently the same time.
Yes.
And we were trying to figure out what that was. Like, is she going to try to stop them? Is it two completely separate things? They're not two separate things, but they're kind of the same thing in a way, right?
Right.
I mean, they both have the same idea. And she just piggybacked on their idea to be like, oh, this will disguise my intent to take Dr. Manhattan powers. I'll let the 7th Cavalry do their little bit, but then I'll kill them all because Will asked me to. So we get the idea that Dr. Manhattan had this plan all along.
Sure.
Or he had seen it, and so it wasn't his plan necessarily, but he saw that this is the way reality will work out. So he went to Will way back in the day, told him what was going to happen. How did that conversation with Will inform Will's actions after that?
Yeah, they didn't show us a flashback of what happened after. He said, "Who?" Basically, I've never heard of that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But because we know Will is the one who goes to Lady True and is like, "Hey,
yes,
Dr. Manhattan, he's here. He's married to my granddaughter."
Right. Maybe perhaps he must have revealed that that's what's going to happen, that he was going to die, right? Because I think I can't imagine him referring to anything else when he was basically telling Lady True that once they find out, then they'll be mad at him, right? Because her plan is to kill.
Yeah. He's basically saying, I'm giving up the husband of my granddaughter.
Yeah. So.
But in his mind, it's worth it because A, Dr. Manhattan told him do this. It's not like he's betraying anything.
Right.
And B, he also gets justice for what happened in the race riots.
I assume so.
Because what ends up happening is our 7th Cavalry, their plan starts to work.
Yes.
To their credit, they got it halfway there.
Yeah, they gave us the other side of what was happening when the 7th Cavalry was attacking Sister Knight and Cal. That there was somebody there like, oh shit, he's killing us all. To Senator Payne, and he's like, no, go ahead, do it.
Do it, keep going.
And then minutes later, there he is.
He's there. So. He's trapped in a lithium cage. That's why they were taking all those watch batteries or whatever back in the day, or in the first episode practically. They made this thing that he can't get out of. So they trap him. Sister Knight shows up and says, hey, don't activate this thing because it's a trap.
Sister
Lady True knew about it.
She knows all about it.
Look at all these things, all this tech you stole from Lady True. She let you do it. It's obviously a trap. Now, and it is.
Yeah, it is.
But it's true. If I was a villain and the person who I was just trying to kill shows up and goes, don't do the thing, it's a trap, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Yeah. I think I'd still be like, flip the switch.
Okay. One thing that they didn't establish is who constructed it.
Constructed the
cage,
the beam weapon,
the cage.
The cage. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and the gun too. I mean, right? Because it's like
somebody smart.
Well, not smart enough. That's my point.
Well, the gun worked perfectly.
The gun, yes, the gun.
The beam weapon trapped him.
It worked perfectly, and that.
And the cage worked.
The cage worked, yeah, and the little compartment that was supposed to give him the powers, it kept him inside.
Yeah, whoever did it, like they did like a contractor to get the last part. Like, we got him in the cage. Can somebody just get a temp and he can do the give me the power part?
Yeah.
Because he did seem very confident this was going to work.
Yeah. Typically, when you see something like that happen, there's some guy in a lab coat, like, okay, we just need to do this, do that, and then this will go. Let's go. No, it's just him saying, "Do it."
It's amazing. You think if you were Senator Keene in that moment, you might have a little trepidation, like this has never been tried, and there's a lot going on here. This could go south,
right?
But he's got that that prototypical
arrogance.
Villain thing,
yes.
Yeah, like my moment of triumph.
Yes, thank you for coming and telling me that it's all a trap.
Yes, and he gives
in
a
moments
big spiel,
it won't work.
Yes. And Judd's widow is there, and his dad is there. So that's the Keene that originally made mass vigilantes illegal. He's there in his wheelchair, a little wheelchair callback, I guess. And he gives the whole thing on, Robert Redford was terrible because he made us apologize, and now we're going to correct things.
Right. Now, what I'm about to say, it has to do with the final moment where Angela steps on the water. In that, one thing we know, at least, I again didn't read the comic, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of accurate. In the movie, anyway, he gets destroyed utterly and then becomes Dr. Manhattan. That's the process, right? Your body is no longer your body anymore.
Gotcha.
So why isn't that the process? I mean, it seemed like that would have been the process, actually, if it had been filtered. That, maybe his body would have been destroyed, but then he would have reconstituted himself.
Because in this show, at least, when we saw the conversation that she had with Dr. Manhattan in the bar back when they first met.
Right.
And it was just like, so if you had the egg and then somebody ate the egg, they would take your powers and you could walk on water. Yep, pretty much, theoretically, whatever. So they didn't, this show seemed to be suggesting if he just gave you some organic part of him, that you could just consume it and take the powers.
Right.
But you're thinking that maybe she would have eaten the egg and then and then reconstituted and now I'm blue.
Yeah.
Glowy.
I mean, maybe not, but I feel like you would need, I would want to know why not.
Okay.
It's like, I guess, perhaps it's separate. Perhaps maybe he didn't need to explode in order to get those powers.
Or maybe, right,
because I feel like it tore him apart individually, then put him back together, I feel, is the point of it.
It could be that maybe it's not all of his powers. It's like, here, you get half abilities or something. I don't know. We give you the part that doesn't require you to tear yourself apart. But
because they even had a version of it in Ozymandias' play.
Right.
Where what is it? Not Crookshanks, but the other guy.
Phillips.
Phillips goes into the compartment and
catches fire.
Yeah.
Like, all right, next.
So it's a destructive process. It's not just eating an egg, but maybe it is just eating an egg. Anyway,
it's destructive for the egg? Maybe? I don't
know. Oh, my stomach acids.
Right. So it is a trap. It's a trap. And the process teleports the entire room onto the site of the Greenwood Race Riot Massacre. A dramatic callback for Will, essentially.
Sure, yeah.
And so they're all there. Lady True shows up. She gives her kind of little villainous type speech. And then it's noted, wait, the effect went off. So, Keene's in that, in the pod. Oh, this should be interesting. Opens it up. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Yep.
So that is, when we talked about the Peteypedia entry from last week, when it mentioned there were like 2 sets of DNA that were unidentifiable, but they figured who they might be. This is one of those, and we guess it might be Keene, might be one of them. And sure enough, it's a puddle of Keene. But that puddle spreads into the cage, and so that allows Dr. Manhattan to basically touch it, which is touching his fellow friends, and he zaps Laurie and Ozymandias and Looking Glass to Karnak.
Yes.
He deliberately does not teleport Sister Night because he mentions later, I didn't want to be alone when I died.
Right.
So zap, they're away. Lady True's like, but continue with the plan.
Yes.
And she's gone, kind of full on
Supervillain
at this point. Great comment later where Looking Glass brings up to Ozymandias, so who's to say she doesn't use her powers for good?
Right.
And Ozymandias, little moment of self-reflection. It's like, oh, no. She is a complete narcissist. Anybody who says they want to be God, that's the person you don't want to give those powers to. Is going south fast. And then he says, because it takes one to know one. So good on you. They kind of flip him. I mean, he's always been somewhat of a morally grayish, but I would say more toward evil. He's more on the evil scale, and in this episode, he was back slightly, like, oh, maybe it's slightly evil, but not super villain evil. But I don't know. They seem like on the scale of things, he wasn't keen.
No.
And he kind of wasn't Lady True either. He's like, oh, okay, I'm in here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, one, he doesn't truly recognize the terrible thing that he has done.
True.
So he can perhaps empathize or well, he didn't even decide to do that plan, right? I mean, his plan was not to try to take Dr. Manhattan's powers.
It was not.
His plan was to, he said that his first plan actually was to
make him forget.
Make him forget. Yeah. So, and then the backup plan was the squid plan. So, so in a way, someone who he could be very suspicious of somebody who wants that much power. But that doesn't redeem him.
No.
So I don't think that that's what they're saying, because he, up until the end, he still doesn't think what he did was wrong. He still is like, hey, okay, but come on, you got to admit that it worked.
It worked, yeah, because there is this moment there where, and I thought they could have maybe played this out a little longer, maybe even, where, Looking Glass is like, hey, you're the guy that did this squid thing.
Yes.
And Ozymandias is very dismissive of him. He's like, look, I saved humanity, you ignorant hayseed.
Yes.
And I thought for a moment there that we might see an attempt on Ozymandias' life from Looking Glass. And, because here's this guy his whole life has been devastated by that moment. And not only is this the guy that did it, but he's just trivializing its importance in terms of like how it negatively affected people like him.
Yes.
To be like, whatever, I saved a lot more people than I killed, so run along, you.
Right.
So the fact that Looking Glass, I guess, had the emotional maturity to realize in that moment, I need Ozymandias to help.
Sure, of course.
And not just go and try to...
Yeah, he's much more mature than Star-Lord.
Right, good point. Star-Lord pretty much cost half of the universe. Couldn't wait the 5 seconds to get the glove off.
Nope.
Right.
No.
So Looking Glass waits the 5 seconds before he hits them with the wrench.
That's right. He's much more control.
Laurie decides she's going to arrest Ozymandias at the end of all this, and they knock him out, and they're taking him off to theoretically arrest him. Now, he's going to have a lot of... Because Robert Redford is also theoretically in on it, and she says, "Oh, well, then he'll be brought up too," or something like that. It seems like there's a long way to go before people actually end up in jail. But theoretically, there's a trial or something that's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing, that you should not take their confidence as an indication of what will actually happen.
Right. Very powerful people have an interest in not going to jail.
Yes.
So, Ozymandias has the old owl ship.
Yes.
A little callback there, a little Easter egg for that.
Yes.
Which is kind of fun. Lady True now kills off she starts to do her big villain monologue, and Judd's widow's like, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Just kill us all.
Yeah.
And so she does. She's like, all right, fine, great. Zap Brannigan.
I might have preferred like a time lapse. So like, no, you will suffer. And so hours later, now I'll kill you.
Now
that I've tortured you.
Something I realized, I think maybe a couple weeks ago, but never mentioned it on the video, and then I just was like, oh, right, bring this up. But the fact that Cyclops existed a long time ago. We know that even back in the 30s, Will was just discovering it, but he didn't even do this before that. So it's its own thing. But it is interesting that there's a Cyclops, and then there's this squid with one giant eye. That the squid attack was this giant creature with one eye, and then there's this group called Cyclops. I don't know, it's just an interesting little tie-in. Whatever, it's a story tie-in.
Sure.
I don't think there's any, causal connection or anything.
Right.
So, Lady True, now all set to, become Dr. Manhattan. There's a good conversation between Dr. Manhattan and Angela. She's standing there. He's having the energy zapped from him.
Yes.
And he tells her that he is seeing every moment of their relationship at once.
Yes.
And that he loves her. Mm-hmm. And then, poof, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
And Lady True starts to do her I am God thing. We see there's a little crucifix off on the side.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ozymandias figures out, oh, you know what I could do to stop this? I'll send squid rain, but I'm going to freeze them first.
Yep.
Little frozen calamari dropping on people. It's funny when he does the thing where he's like, so when was the last squid attack in Tulsa? I wonder how we can figure that out. Of course, Looking Glass is like, it was 3 weeks ago. Yes. So he finds it on the computer.
Yeah, after, what was it? Lori was like, I don't know. How am I supposed to know?
You have the right guy in the room for this.
It's like, no, out of the way, please.
You need to know it in minutes and seconds, because I have that. So they freeze the squids, and then they send them down. And so you've got this little stigmata moment where she's about to receive the power, and then a little squid falls through her hand. So it's kind of the little Jesus figure thing.
Yes.
It was a little weird that there wasn't a consistency in the devastation that these squids were causing. So the first one we see goes right through her hand.
Right.
But then we see some that are hitting like policemen, and then they're running for cover. I'm like, how would you run for cover? You'd be already dead. Well, but they aren't. So I don't know. It's a little weird.
Perhaps the time that they had to freeze them didn't freeze them all.
Right. There's a flash freeze, and it's like, oh, well, you don't always get them all. These are going to go bad pretty soon. You only freeze them. But it kills her, and it also does enough devastation to the Millennium Clock. So the Millennium Clock crashes on her.
Yes.
I believe then she becomes the other
unidentifiable. Yes.
Maybe.
Probably.
Meanwhile, there are, the squid are hitting, people are running for cover, people get under cars and such, but there's more people dying, I guess. So that ends the threat. While running for cover, Angela goes to the Dreamland Theater, which Will, is hanging out in. It's the theater that he, as a boy, was in, where his mom was playing the piano to try to drown out the riots, where he watched Bass Reeves. And so that all kind of comes around. They have a conversation.
He reveals, or at least we see, that the children that Dr. Manhattan caused to disappear are sleeping there in the theater with their grandfather.
Right. They are safe and sound. There were some great lines in this conversation, but I will say some of it felt like they were just telling us what they'd already shown us. Like when they're like, oh, did you feel how it wasn't anger, that it was fear, and blah, 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 when you were, it basically was retelling what we saw when Angela takes the nostalgia, I thought there was a little bit of like, I know this, you showed us. That they didn't necessarily need to tell us. I don't know, a little bit. I thought it was a little bit of like, I got it, move on. But any case, the part that was particularly, I thought, touching was when he says something about you can't heal with a mask on.
Yes.
That it needs air. Your wounds need air, or
Yes.
something like that. And I think that's a really, it's a good message for the Watchmen show. I think it harkens on one of these themes that is.
That's part of the.
You put the mask on.
That's part of him saying though that he was doing it because of anger though.
Yeah.
But you felt that was too on the nose.
A little bit. I mean, when he was just talking about the past, like, oh, and this is when I became hooded. She said, oh, he became hooded justice, something like that. And I'm like, yeah, we know. We saw it. We saw you become hooded justice.
Right, but I mean, that leads up to what you're saying, though.
Okay, all right. Fine,
that's all a part of it. It's like, I spent my life dealing with my anger.
No, so what you do is you cut that out. You just put that together, and then you show a lot more
like,
Loop
oh, so
Man.
you remember
you
my...
get the Loop Man shots. Whatever happened to Loop? Okay, no.
So you should have been saying, you saw my memories, right? That the audience saw. Yes. And then, one moment, and then Loop Man could have came in with a telegram. Ah, yes.
And then Loop Man goes, by the way, I'm Petey, Agent Pete. Okay, thank you. And then he lubes away. Yeah. No. Okay, so, yes, point taken. They were getting to the point.
Yes.
But it did feel a little repetitive, that's all. But they'd done the awesome work of showing us, and then they also told us, felt a little like, oh.
And somebody just had their memories that they have their own feelings about, but you don't get to see the person's conscious thoughts. You just experience their memories. And then someone's experienced those memories. You're going to want to say, okay, you know what? This is what I think of my memories. Those things that we experienced together.
Yes, all right. Yes, good call, sir. All right, I take it all back.
And
I was completely wrong.
And if you discover that your father is actually Darth Vader, and you...
Is this getting into our episode 9 recap? So the idea that, and we do see that she does not wear her mask through this episode, really, right?
Correct.
I mean, she wears the jacket, and she's got her tactical stuff on, but she doesn't do the
No.
And in fact, her adopted son, does see the suit and kind of puts it together. I guess he hadn't put it together until that moment.
Yeah, apparently not.
And he's like, "Oh, it was you."
Yeah.
But yeah,
because certainly from the events, she was. She really hasn't had any time since she woke up. She discovered what the plan was, and then had to rush over to tell Dr. Manhattan, and then they were being attacked.
Well, narratively, I think it also is showing this idea of that these are people who are healing. That Angela's healing.
Yeah.
And that also Looking Glass is healing. He's the guy he has the Rorschach mask on for a while to blend in, but then at the end, the whole last half, he's got a mask off. He doesn't have the Looking Glass on anymore. And I feel like he has turned some kind of a corner in dealing with what happened to him.
Well, and you can say, I mean, you could say that in a way it's a criticism of the original work, because you had this terrible thing that occurred, and under the belief that maybe it's worth killing as many people as they did if it ends up averting nuclear holocaust, that this terrible crime that's been committed, let's just cover it up. Laurie's like, no, we're not going to cover anything up. So that certainly is trying to let these wounds, show what damage occurred and try to make up for it.
Nice little Easter egg when they walk out of the Dreamland Theater because of all the frozen squids.
Yes.
It says Dr. M.
Yes, it does.
The Eamland and
Yes.
Dr. M in the background. And we then see that Will mentions something like, oh, Dr. Manhattan told me to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. He said you would know what that meant.
Right.
And she's like, at the right time.
It's funny.
That doesn't mean anything to me. She's like, well, it's not the right time.
I had intended to go through his words when he was in the cage, because some of it seemed like it wasn't referring to what was going on. Like maybe
it certainly
he was
wasn't.
Still, one
was about Afghanistan, and it's from what I gathered, it sounded like maybe like much like Vietnam.
Oh,
maybe
okay.
like somebody was asking him to go and take out enemies in Afghanistan.
Okay.
And then another one was like talking about the temperature, like if the temperature isn't right, adjust it, which I think I heard was maybe some callback to the comic or something.
Oh, interesting.
Where he was with Lori. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Anyway.
Interesting.
But yeah, he's again living all those times at once.
Yeah.
And he's confused in this moment. So we do go back to the eggs that she'd thrown on the ground. She's like, has this little moment of inspiration. She opens up the thing. There's one egg. It is intact.
Yeah.
She then remembers the idea of like, he told me I'm walking on the pool. This is going to be important later. I'm showing you for later.
I don't know if they reviewed that, actually. Because they may have been afraid the audience would have felt like you're just, rubbing it in. We know this already. We just know.
Good on you, Joe, because that's true. All right, but she figured it out. So she's like, I'm going to go over to the pool.
Yeah.
So she eats the egg in front of the pool, and she starts to step on the water, and that's where we cut to black.
Yes.
So
it's right there, cuts to black so that we can hear the final song from The Sopranos. No.
Hi! It's I Am the Walrus, which references the title of this episode, See How They Fly. It also says, I am the Eggman, since he gave, and then had an egg, and then, look, and now I have my powers.
Now you're the walrus. And
we didn't see any walrus. We saw a squid. Maybe it's the squid is a walrus.
Go. Maybe so. Maybe that's what it is.
Cousin.
Yeah.
So, while I appreciated the ending, and I liked the fact that she does not, we don't see her whether she steps on the water or not. I don't feel like this is like I don't think it's a question. I think he gave her his powers. So I'm not sure.
Well, here's the thing. Was he right? Because he said theoretically.
Sure.
So it could have.
It seems like a waste of time if he didn't do that, though. Like he spent all this time. Like he put his powers in the egg. He says later this is going to be important. I'm walking on water. Like in other words,
you don't know that he put the powers in the egg. You didn't see it.
Okay. His whole point of like, I'm walking on the water, this is important.
Right. We don't know. That may be it, but you don't know.
Like, was he just teasing her? He's like, this will be great. She'll think it's because she has powers, and then she'll just fall in the pool. It'll be hilarious. And I'll laugh as I go off into space in the particles.
You're assuming that he was referring to that.
Okay.
You don't know.
I kind of know.
How do you know? How do you know he's referring to that? Right. Well, that's a good question.
Like one day you're going to buy a pool and you're going to wonder, hey, I wonder how deep the pool should be. And this will be your guide as to how, I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know.
I feel fairly confident that his whole intent was to give her powers. So it doesn't feel like, for instance, I was comparing
and this is a situation where he's not around.
Right, in other words, he's dead already, so how would he know the future if he's dead?
Yep.
Or maybe he's not dead. He can make copies of himself, right? I don't know. There's still a copy of himself on Mars.
No. He's not on Mars. He said that.
Well, he's a demo of him. But you can just go into the demo. The demo becomes the original. You know how like when you buy everything else at the store and they're like, we got the demo model. Here, you can have that.
You're assuming that it's an entity, and they express it in a way that it's not.
All right.
It's like he's saying that it was more like the way that the squids were getting sent. It's more like that.
So okay, I feel like.
I think it did, but it's just the end of the show. That's all. So,
I think it's just at the end of this chapter.
If you felt like, if you're saying that what they should have done is, she should have walked on the water so you could see that. That's a very interesting thing. If that's what you're saying, is that what you're saying?
I think so.
You would rather,
or maybe that wouldn't be the ending beat, because you're ending. Well, I was comparing it. Apparently, Lindelof talked about it this way, or he was comparing the thing to Inception.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, the Inception, where he spins the top to see if he's in dreaming or awake, and the top just keeps spinning, and then they cut to black. Okay, in that situation, that is a legit cliffhanger because we don't know if it's in a dream or he's awake, and it kind of
is it a
informs the entire
cliffhanger?
movie.
Because the cliffhanger actually suggests that there's going to be a continuation. So with these serials and everything, the cliffhanger will, oh no, is he gonna?
Sure. He's hanging on a cliff.
So next week we'll see the answer to that.
Okay.
So that's the.
Okay.
So do you mean
but
the
not
word
by that
cliffhanger?
context? Not by the context of there'll be a sequel and we'll answer that question.
Right.
But more of this is a legit open-ended question.
Right.
And the answer to it is really informs how the movie goes. Like,
right.
What is he? And so in that situation, that is kind of the crux of the movie: is has this all been a dream, or is he actually going to be able to see his kids and whatever, be out of jail? In this situation, I feel like the question being asked is not open-ended. It feels like the answer is fairly obvious. She's got powers. I don't know. So I feel like if you were going to do an open-ended question, it should be something more. I don't know what this is, but it should be something that would be a legit question in your mind.
But everything else follows after that, though. So it's still a question. Even if what you assume to be true, and I assume it to be true, but even if that's true, all those questions are still open.
In terms of,
like, what does it mean?
Uh,
So if the question isn't, okay, if you take it as rote that, okay, of course she has the powers, it's still an open question because it hasn't even begun yet. So it ends before it even begins.
Right. Well,
So
I think in other words,
so
this is the ending of one story, and then for another time, or maybe never, there'll be another story, which is now there's a new Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's where I come down on how it's an effective ending. Is this is the end beat of that?
Yes.
So as soon as she touches that water and realizes she can walk on it, that's a new story.
Right.
So we're not going to tell that one because that's not the story we're telling. But I did also like the line where Will is talking to her right before she does that, and he says, he was a good man, Cal, Dr. Manhattan, but he could have done more.
Right.
And that line is really interesting. The idea of he kind of screwed us over in some ways, and so the idea that now Angela would have a chance to do what Lady True was talking about doing,
right? Or something, or more,
or something. And so maybe that would be your cliffhanger moment of she realizes she's got the powers, and then somebody's like, "So what do you do now?" I'm like, is she gonna just go nuts? Is she gonna try to do the right thing but accidentally evaporate half of humanity? What is somebody with that many powers, even if they intend to do the right thing, what do they do?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could also say that without confirming that she's Dr. Manhattan now, that you don't. Maybe she's not, and you shouldn't. That story didn't happen anyway. So there you go. Don't worry about that story about what happens after that.
That's right.
It didn't even. No, she doesn't even have the powers.
It was the wrong egg. It was one of the ones that broke.
It's like,
yeah. I just assumed it was the unbroken one.
Oh
man.
Yeah, let me suck up some of this.
Yeah. Oh no, the kid get it. Oh, now we had a baby. We have Baby Yoda. Anyway, very good. We'll call it series. Very good series.
Yep.
And I thought it was just carefully crafted. You could see the attention to detail and the effort that they really put into this show paid off in spades. And thumbs up to this show, generally speaking. Any final thoughts?
No. Well, there was going to be one about...
Petey was Lube Man.
Oh, one thing I wanted to say that I don't understand why, because especially since I did some speculation about why, and it turns out that not to be true. Why was Will in the wheelchair? Why does he need to be in the wheelchair?
And then why did we see him out of the wheelchair as well? Because he's standing up talking to Lady True.
Right. At that point, he gets up. But we
thought at that point maybe that's a clone of it or something.
Exactly.
But he showed that no, actually the wheelchair is just a feint, maybe, or yeah.
Yeah. So
what is the wheel? You're saying what is the point of the wheelchair?
Yeah. Why was he in the wheelchair?
I think it was designed to make it look like that guy can't physically do the hanging.
Okay,
and
so
stuff.
to make Angela curious enough that she would investigate.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I think if he was like, I'm just a healthy, active old guy, he might be like, oh, no, I guess he could have. But the fact that he's like, oh, no, it's a guy who's confined to a wheelchair. How could he possibly?
Right.
I think is the idea. But then why do they show him out of it? Why not just keep him in the wheelchair?
Right, yes. Why was he in the wheelchair for Judd?
Right. And if he could just control people with the blinky lights, just keep him in the wheelchair then. Like, why worry about him, showing him walking around? Like, that moment felt like, oh, he's been deceiving everyone into thinking he's confined to a wheelchair.
Right.
Just so that they'll think, oh, it's a frail guy, but actually, he's ready for action. Anyway, good point. That was a little leftover question that didn't necessarily get a nice bow on it.
Right.
If you've got an answer out there for why is Will in the wheelchair and why do we show him not in the wheelchair, put that in there. But otherwise, good stuff. We have reached the end of Watchmen. We are nearing the end of both Mandalorian and Mr. Robot.
Yes.
So come on back for those, and we'll talk to you soon, everybody.
Yes.
But